Okay, well, welcome to Learning Together. This is a program where we like to showcase some of the creativity, some of the ingenuity that we're seeing on behalf of a lot of our teachers and our support staff, the way that they're helping our students and their families get through and continue learning while our schools are closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So for today, we have with us Sarah Samra, who is a kindergarten teacher at W.J. Langlois Catholic Elementary School. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, hi.
Thanks for being here. We've also got Kara Long, who is an early childhood educator at W.J. Langlois as well. Hello, Kara.
Hello, everyone.
And we've also got Nadia Wright. Nadia is a parent who has a son in Kara and Sarah's class. So thanks again for being here today, Nadia.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. So so what we want to do, I'm just trying to get a sense from Kara and Sarah, because it's a little bit different when we talk about continuity of learning and online learning for some of those older students, maybe some of the kids who are in high school who can be given an assignment and work independently. But for you ladies, it's a little bit different, isn't it? In the sense that you've got a lot of these younger kids who really do require a lot of extra support from their parents.
Yes, they do.
Do you want to go ahead?
So you can tell me just a little bit, I'll go to Sarah first. So tell me, how Sarah, do you go about just in terms of replicating your class in a virtual world?
Yeah, well, like you said, we do rely on our parents for that, because realistically in that kindergarten setting, we try to develop independence, but again, it's not like we can just set something up and expect the children to follow through on their own, right? So we really need our parents' help and cooperation with that. And what Karen and I have been trying to do is just kind of get a feel for what's working with, for our class. So since this whole continuous learning has begun, we've kind of developed what we wanted to do. It started off initially as just some posting games of us playing and showing the children like how to play a game. We both belong to a Facebook group for kindergarten, and we've kind of just looked to see what other partners are doing across Ontario, right? And Kara found one that was just kind of saying how they're trying this circle and kind of doing a morning circle type thing, a format like that. So Kara's like, let's just try it. Let's see what happens, right? So then that kind of turned into a gathering, a circle where we record ourselves. It's really great acting, but and we take attendance, we sing a song with them, and then we'll do a book, or we'll kind of get right into some type of lesson. And our hope is kind of like the kids can sit there and watch the computer screen, and the parents don't have to be on them the whole time, and they get an idea, like it's like they're in the classroom, right? They're following along, they're saying hello when we call their name for attendance, they're getting up, they're doing the actions for the songs, and then they're paying attention to whatever the book it is that we're reading, or maybe an activity that we're trying to show them, that we're kind of assigning to them to try on their own afterwards with their parents' help.
So how do you make that happen then? Are you using Google Meet, the same format that we're using here, or do you have some other tools that you use?
We use Seesaw.
Okay, great. So yeah. Kara, did you want to chime in here and tell us a little bit about how you're making this happen and what your role in the whole thing is?
Sure. So I feel that if we're doing they're pre-recorded, but they are of Sarah and I, what we would do in the classroom. It's us staying connected with the children. We're offering them normalcy and some familiar things that they know, like the circle, our stories, and our songs. So I'll show you an example of a pre-recorded, just some snippets of it.
Okay.
Okay, present it. Now, remember, it's really hard to act.
You're doing a great job.
Hi,
yeah.
Happy Thursday, everybody. On the count of 3, I want you to give me the biggest shout out. Say good morning, Mrs. Long. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that was loud. I heard you all the way here in my living room. All right, today we got a lot of things to do. I think we're going to start with a song. I'll get it ready.
Guarded rich, wouldn't let you pass until you did what he said. And special request, when something like this, stand up, turn around, sit down, stand up.
Thought we should have a check-in with our beans, see how they're doing.
This was a science project that we started from another book.
Okay.
White bean.
And what's the project here, Kara? What do they have to do?
So we had shown them, we did Jack and the Beanstalk. So we were growing the seeds. So we were doing like the cycle of a seed and how many days was it going to take for them to sprout. So now it's become a math. You can see I'm writing on my window. We're still doing it. We're on day 14. So now we're doing a literacy.
So they're learning a little science. They're learning some numeracy and the counting exercise. They're learning a little bit of some numbers, some literacy. That's all great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we move on to another. So the parents could do this with the children. This was pretty easy. So then we challenged the kids to go and find objects around their home. Okay, now how do I get out of here?
So presumably then at the other end, then obviously the kids would be sitting there with their parents. They'd be singing along with the songs. They'd be doing the counting exercises. They can maybe work on the science project kind of a little bit more independently, at least under the instruction of the supervision of their parents.
Well, and one of the feedbacks that we got from one of the parents was that the children are engaged. They are yelling back at us through their computers.
You just can't hear them so well, can you?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's giving them, there's some confidence and some normalcy in these crazy times.
Right. So Sarah, I think maybe you had a couple of tools that you wanted to demonstrate as well.
I just want to show this kind of more of from a math perspective. The other thing I just wanted to add though, like moving forward, is that obviously Kara and I are kind of doing the circle time and things like that, but we also have like our EA, Miss Rhea, who does activities for, as well. We'll post some activities. And then we have like the help of like our PALS teacher, our music teacher, who are all kind of putting their little twist on it as well. So it's kind of like a, more of a team effort as to make it familiar for those kids. So they see, oh, look at Miss Guzman posted something for music, or Miss Piazza has a PALS activity. So we're trying to kind of do it, approach it as a team as well. So that's been kind of, I really appreciate it. I look to see that effort's being put in from the whole team of kindergarten.
And that's really important to get across. I mean, that whole team approach that you've got, the teacher working in conjunction with the ECE along with the EA. I mean, you have fairly defined roles and responsibilities. Does that change at all in a virtual world, or does it pretty much just kind of carry over and you do the same sorts of things that you would do except online?
Yeah, I mean, with Kara and I, it was never really, I know there's assigned roles, but it never came across that way. Like we've always just learned to collaborate and just work together with things, right? And we're fortunate. We just have a really good working relationship, and we're supportive of each other. It's never like, okay, Kara's like, I'm doing this and it's your turn to do this, or vice versa, right? We just learn to, not even learn to, we just get along, and we're able to just talk with each other, bounce ideas off each other. And it's kind of carried over to the online learning. I mean, now it's just different. We don't see each other every day in person. So it's a lot of conversations, right? On the phone, we're texting, and just trying to touch base to kind of say, okay, we're going to do this, and I'll try this though. I have this circle. All right, I'll find this, and kind of help support what you're doing here. Like for the plants, I was able to find an activity on Seesaw where the students had to talk about what a plant needs, right? So it's just finding ways to support one another to work with each other. But there's no really, I don't want to say like a set role. Like we're just kind of working collaboratively to kind of reach out to these children and make it a good experience for them, making it fun for them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that relationship really comes across just in the short conversations. You seem to really kind of gel together really nicely. So, what about like any challenges that you've come across in this virtual world that you've had to try to overcome?
I didn't hear you. Sorry. Can you ask
Sorry,
again?
yeah, no, just the question was, are there any specific challenges that have come up that you've had some difficulty dealing with, and if you did, how did you find a workaround to deal with some of those challenges?
Well, I think the technology is probably our biggest challenge. The entire world is bogging down the internet right now and taking up Seesaw. Like this morning, Seesaw crashed.
Mm.
What do you do? So we're doing our best. We're asking the parents to be very patient with us as we're learning too. But I think technology is probably our biggest. It's the biggest hardship of all of it. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, we're relying on that. Sorry, I have someone leaving a message on my machine.
It's the joys of working at home, right?
Absolutely. I had it on mute, so I'm like, okay, but it went a lot longer than I expected. Sorry about that.
No worries.
But yeah, like you said, technology, and I think just we're not connecting with our kids. Like it's great when we assign something and we have our awesome parents that are sending back videos and they're sending back their clips and their voices, and that feels really good. Like it's great to see that, but it's just, we feel like we're just missing out on the actual learning part, right? We're not there to see or be a part of that. You know, we're asking parents to please carry out what we're showing, but we're not actually a part of that, right? And we know a lot with kindergarten, a lot of their growth is happening during their play, right? And what they're exploring and the different provocations we set up. So that's been kind of a challenge that obviously in this type of format, we can't do that, right? So
Right. Well, there's no substitute for that personal touch, right? That interactive relationship that you have with your students. But it sounds like you're making the most of the situation, you know, given the limitations that you're facing.
Well, it's even not. We don't even have all of our supplies. Like I don't have my books or the different music and the different props that we would normally have. And then when we are creating activities, we have to be cognizant of what families have in their home. So we have to try and make things like we built with blocks today using recyclables. So we need to accommodate it for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, you're very good at adapting. So, you know, I wanted to bring Nadia right into the conversation here too. Of course, as we said at the beginning of the conversation, Nadia has a son in your class, and I guess she's got the luxury of being a work-at-home mom, but I suppose that probably poses some challenges as well. Nadia, just generally, how's the experience been for you? How have you been finding trying to support your child at home during this whole situation?
So it's been a bit of a learning curve. So for us, Theo had never used a computer or used my phone before. So teaching him how to use the mouse was like our first big hurdle of this whole thing. But also just a learning curve for myself because I'm not a teacher. I don't know what I'm doing. And like they said, Theo doesn't do independent learning. My son can't do it. He's too young. So for me being there, it was a bit daunting. But I do appreciate that Mrs. Long and Mrs. Samra are demonstrating everything that they're asking the parents to do. So not only in those demonstrations does my son know what he's supposed to do, but I kind of know what I'm supposed to be doing when I'm teaching him. So in that sense, it's taken a lot of pressure off, and it's actually turned into really fun. I think it's fun. So it's been going well, I think.
So can you maybe give a couple specifics of some things that you were required to do that maybe got you outside of your comfort zone, or some things that were maybe a little bit of a challenge that you had to work with your son on that you were able to accomplish with him?
Yeah, so reading has been a big challenge for us. The English language, I think, is crazy and none of it makes sense. And I don't understand how teachers are teaching this to their kids. So props to the teachers for that. So we had come into kind of a roadblock where I don't want to be teaching Theo if he's frustrated or if he's crying. So whenever we came to reading, that was kind of where we stopped. Everything else he could do but the reading. So I ended up contacting Mrs. Long and Mrs. Samra. I think Mrs. Long was the one who sent us, it was about 10 ebooks that she had sent us, and they were just at the perfect level for him. And there was enough clue reading, I guess. I don't know what the proper word is for that, where they can see the picture and get what's going on. So it made it fun for him. So we really I've been relying on the teachers a lot when I've run into struggles, and I think that they've been helping, but reading's definitely our biggest hurdle right now.
So as I mentioned, you work at home and you have a job where you're online a lot. So internet, I suppose, is probably a challenge. What are some of the things that you've had to deal with as a parent, and just in terms of trying to, balance supporting your child is in school, because you have a younger one who isn't. So how do you manage all of that between your work life and your family life and trying to support your child in terms of his education?
So we're watching a lot more TV than we ever have in our life. But it's like PBS Kids and CBC Kids, so I think it's okay. Like, that's still kind of educational. But we're just trying to find what works for us. So originally we had done it where we were doing it was probably about an hour a day of like pen to paper learning or learning on the computer, and then 45 minutes to an hour of the interactive play learning. And I was trying to bunch that all up into one time in the morning where we were getting all of our learning done. And that didn't work for us at all. It was frustrating for me. It was frustrating for my son. My toddler was all over me during that time. So I found that when we broke it up, so now we break it up into 3 20-minute segments of learning with 1 hour of outside time or doing the extra interactive learning on top of that throughout the day. And that's worked a lot better for us.
So you kind of already answered one of the questions that I was also going to ask then. So what kind of advice? It sounds like that whole, chopping things up into digestible segments is probably a pretty good piece of advice. Anything else that you would tell other parents, just in terms of, what they should do to try and make this whole thing just a little bit easier and a little bit more manageable?
So the teachers are doing a great job, and Mrs. Long and Mrs. Samra are giving a lot of different options and different ways, I think, to learn. So I think throughout the day, they usually post about 4 or 5 videos. And I don't think that you need to do every single one of them. If you're struggling, I think that they've started to say that as well, that just do what you feel you can and what your kid is comfortable with doing. So not trying to take on everything. I think especially if you have multiple kids, I think that would be a struggle for people as well. Trying to do multiple different lesson plans. So picking and choosing, I think, and doing what you can and not feeling overworking yourself or overwhelming your children.
Yeah. And that was kind of the intent, initially, and I can see it from Mrs. Wright's stance. You see these assignments coming in and you're like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? But, we have a lot of contact with our parents and just sending out notes and things like that, and just letting them know that just like in our class, the students are provided with choices, right? So we kind of wanted to have that play out with this as well. Some students like the work on the computer, and they get that, right? Where others need more of that hands-on. So we're not asking the families to do everything. It's just, look at what's assigned for the day and let's pick and choose. And I like what Mrs. Wright said, like 20-minute increments, because realistically, these 4 or 5-year-old, 6-year-old students, to have them sit for an hour, it's not realistic, right? They need to be up and moving. So like a little 20-minute period is fantastic, right? It's a great idea to kind of structure the day that way for that age.
And that's kind of similar to what you would do in the classroom anyways, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're up and down. We start our morning circle. It's like a 20-minute. Okay, now it's time for snack. From snack, we get into play. So it's kind of, you're moving throughout the day, right? So we don't expect our students to sit there for an hour and they're doing the work. So the same idea, the expectation of doing that. But it's hard. You're trying to figure this out, right? You're trying to figure this out at home, how to be a working parent, how to educate your child, how to still run a household. So yeah, it's a learning curve for everybody, like every parent, every educator on our board. And it's just figuring out what works best. Not everything's going to work the same for every educator, every team, or every family, right? So you have to do what works for you and what you're comfortable with.
Well, hopefully it'll all be over soon. Nadia, do you feel that that your son is still progressing academically the way he ought to be, despite the circumstances?
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed this whole experience, getting to watch him figure things out. For me, I hadn't realized how well he was at math. We had just not done it at home. He was doing it at school. And so to see him doing addition and then being like, oh, I think maybe you could start doing some subtraction. So now we're doing simple subtraction on top of what the teachers have taught. So I'm finding it to be fun. I'm having a good time with it.
That's good.
We're having fun creating it. We spend a lot of time laughing at ourselves, and
Yeah,
it's okay. Nobody's
yeah. I actually did the math one. If you're okay, I can show that quickly so you can get
sure, yeah.
Something like that would look like. And it's same idea, like Kara and I try and switch off days. So Monday, Kara would do a morning circle. Tuesday, I would do it, and then we'll kind of switch off that way. So we always try and start off with a greeting, a song, and then we get into it. So I'm just going to get right into the lesson here. So basically, we were just trying to look at some addition.
Okay, so I have 2. That's 1 and 2. And then what do I need to count out next? 4, that's right. Okay.
So just kind of showing, again, using what you have around the house, getting involved in their play.
4.
So basically then you're just recording this, you're making it available in the Seesaw app, and then parents can either, can they watch it live, or do they just go and watch the recording later?
Recorded, so they can kind of do whatever works for them. So if mornings work well, then they can open it up and watch the videos. If evenings work well, because we do have families where parents are still working. So if that works better for them when they come home from work, then again, everything's just available in their student's journal. And then they can kind of just go from there, whatever works, again, for their family. So from here, we try to incorporate some type of game for them. So this is where I have my daughter kind of demonstrate. So I show her, she has to take an addition sentence from the container.
Look at it. So it says 2 plus 5. Good. 2 plus 5. So the first thing we're going to do is count out 2 objects.
So, when teaching her, I'm kind of teaching the students as well and kind of showing the parents. And then, so she's showing with grouping. And then we did just another one showing parents just another way what they could set up if they wanted to. And again, it's all choice and, again, what they're comfortable with. So we did like a number line for them to try. We'll just get to that. Hold on.
Go beside it.
So I had my daughter and her saying to the parents that they can print their own numbers and put that in order. So that's big math right there. And now she's going to jump on the number line to show her adding of 2 plus 4.
What number did you land on? 4. Okay, so 2 plus.
So yeah, so then the students are getting an idea of what it looks like, and then our parents can see it kind of in action as well.
And that's a nice exercise too there, because in addition to learning some numeracy, they're getting a little activity in there as well, right?
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, none of this is really possible without our parents. Because we're coming up with ideas, whether it's our own ideas we get from the internet. Seesaw has great ideas that we can edit. We have a good teaching, like our staff, our other JKSK team. So, I mean, the ideas are coming from all over the place. It's just how Kara and I decide to take those ideas and make it work for our kids, right? But what we can kind of teach them doing, right? How we would kind of set it up in our room. Because we know these kids, we've been with them since September, right? So we just didn't want that to stop just because we couldn't see them anymore, right? And be with them. So we just kind of tried to look at it from that perspective of how we can make this still come alive for them at home, where we're still kind of allowed to be there and make connections with them. And then obviously having our parents really help out on that end as well. That partnership has been so important to make it successful for the children, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, this has been really, really terrific stuff. I think that's about all the time we have. We're gonna wrap it up, unless if you had any other final kernels of wisdom that you wanted to share with people out there.
No,
but I want to thank Mrs. Long and Mrs. Sammer. They've been doing a fantastic job. We've been loving all of their creativity and the way that they're putting things out there. I've really appreciated that.
Thank you. Thanks. Like I said, we couldn't do without you guys, without our parents. So it works both ways.
We thank the parents for doing everything. It's supporting us too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a good confidence boost. It makes me want to go out every day and do another video.
Well, listen, keep up the great work, ladies. This has been terrific. Thanks so much for being here. Nadia, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know how you got a lot of stuff going on there. You got very active young children, and you got your hands full with those. So thanks again so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ms. Wright. Okay, bye. Thank you.